Hey everybody, this is producer Eric. So, Karine wanted me to let you guys know something. Before you take any of the advice she offers on the show, please speak to your medical doctor. Also, when you do take Karine's advice, please understand that results will vary per person. Alright, let's start the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shit Isn't a Dirty Word. My name is Eric Kasloff, and let's get right into the host of the show, Karine. How's it going, Karine?
Everything is wonderful, like always. A little rainy in California.
Ooh,
It's been
nice.
a
That's
while
good.
since we've done a show, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Especially with
other
you on,
voice
Eric.
you are hearing is, of course, Larry Sands. How's it going, Larry?
Everything is great. Getting a little bit chilly here, so nothing could be better than a
Wait, wait,
chilly
wait.
Texas weather.
What is chilly for you, Larry, and for you, Karine?
Chilly for me, it's a little rain somewhere,
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
you know, for
51
a
here
day.
right now. So yeah, it is nice for me at 51 degrees. This is,
Not
yeah,
bad.
let's go out and do something. It's nice.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Hey, Karine, how is everything in the hydrotherapy business for you? How is everything going? Is everybody gearing up
You,
for the holidays?
you know what? It's funny you're asking me that because a week ago it was like uh, in out like that. People were canceling. I had like three cancellation a day, which it's almost never happened. And now we're a week before Thanksgiving. I worked 10 hours the day before yesterday, and it was crazy. This week was crazy. And then you hear the voices of, um, I'll save my last treatment after the holiday.
Right, exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
people are already, but it's always like that. I don't even know why I'm surprised. It's always dead a week before, and then I can breathe for 2 months. So same thing happened on Christmas before all the parties and everybody wants to look good. And then I want to say January 5th, everybody's back into New Year resolution.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I tell you what, we have really a great guest on for this show, Kareem. Um, Dr. Fred, he is the founder of the Welcome to Humanity movement, and he is a mental health expert. So, everybody, let's welcome Dr. Fred to the show. Hi, Dr. Fred.
Hi. Thanks for having me. It's really great to be here with you guys, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
This is going to be great because in my eyes, you know, knowing what Corrine does and what she practices and her philosophy on being healthy from the inside out, and I've seen her at work. So I am a giant fan of yours, Kareem, because she can lay hands on somebody's abdomen, and obviously, Kareem, you can tell everybody where you're actually laying, because I just see you laying hands on belly and go and touching certain areas. Oh, you need to let this go, and this is where you're, and they start crying. So I'm amazed. And then looking over your information, Dr. Fred, you are first of all, and I was reading your bio, and what is a non-diagnosing psychiatrist?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So non-diagnosing psychiatrist, we've been typecast over the years. When I went into psychiatry, the last thing I really wanted to do is learn how to diagnose people. And I went into psychiatry and I made the decision to go in psychiatry in approximately, um, I guess, in around 1983. And that was before Prozac was even introduced to the world. So at that time, that what I had done is I had worked in a child and adolescent state mental health facility in Detroit area, and the and I really learned that communication and connection was at the heart of all healing. So I went into psychiatry because I hated the direction that psychiatry was going and thought that I could make a difference going in a different direction. by bringing human connection forward and having that be the source of all healing, I knew that I was flying against the flow of where psychiatry was headed. And in 1987, Prozac was introduced to the world, and that completely altered. A significant paradigm shift took place on that day. Prozac was on the cover of Newsweek all by itself. Prozac was on the cover of Time all by itself. Prozac was the new panacea. It was thought that Prozac could, cure all ills. And basically what it was, the assumption was that if you were feeling bad, or you were miserable, or you were unhappy, or you felt imbalanced, there was something wrong with you. Now, of course, we know way better than that. We know as humans that if you're feeling bad, that's called humanity. If you're feeling upset, if you're feeling imbalanced, if you're feeling dysfunctional, if you're feeling even misery, as the Buddha says, that's just called a part of humanity. And so I thought that I could go into psychiatry and actually bring, connection at the heart of healing. However, as a typecast psychiatrist, when I came out of medical school in 1988 and then went through my residency and my fellowship, here I was now being asked all the time to diagnose people. Not only diagnose people, but treat them with medications and therapeutic interventions that I was not aligned with at all. So for the next, you could even say for the next 30 years or beyond, I was doing things that were misaligned with who I was. And part of that was diagnosing. How did I get to diagnosing? Basically, I really didn't like the effects that medications were having on people. But instead of blaming medicines, because after all, medicines are just inert substances, and medicines are not the problem of anything. Medicines are just things. They're just, like stones, rocks, there's nothing to medicine. So why do people take medicine was the question I asked. And the reason that people take medicine is that they think there's something wrong with them. And the reason they think that something's wrong with them is because they're pretty sure that being miserable flies against the human, condition, that they're more miserable than the average person. So when they get confirmed by a psychiatrist through a diagnosis that there's something wrong with them, now they have a reason and a justification to take medication. So the only space to actually address the whole cycle of the whole perplexing cycle of what psychiatry is about is by addressing the whole notion of diagnosis. If people could get that there may be nothing wrong with them and that they don't have a diagnosis, and that, basically like your diagnosis, Larry, would be Larry Sands, and Eric's diagnosis would be Eric Kasloff, and Kareen's diagnosis would be Kareen Namani. And so that in my diagnosis, I have a diagnosis too. It's called Fred Moss, and it's called Welcome to Humanity. When you get that you have no diagnosis, then you have nothing to fix. Then you won't be urged to take medicines. You won't find the need to take medicine. And that's just the inroad to moving medicines out of the, out of the cycle, out of the circle, out of the really vicious circle that perpetuates the symptoms it's marketed to treat.
Now, let me ask you, Doc. First of all, thank you so much for being in my show, because when I was on your show, I shared my, my life as a therapist, as someone that wants to bring a change, and it sounds. I mean, you sound like me.
Yeah.
Going against everything, basically, that it's normal. I always say that maybe I'm not normal, and it's okay, because who's normal in these days, right? But
in any days,
I'm unique in my way. It's not that that I don't believe in everything that the psychiatrists or psychologists will say, but I don't go with blindness. I don't go with, oh, this is what they say. I do search. I do also in clinics. How many doctors in my life said no? How many people is still going against what I do in public and say how dangerous and how everything, instead of say, you know what, let's combine it. Let's work together, because I have something to give and you have something to give. And you were talking about diagnostic, because this is the one thing I hate is diagnose someone. Actually, and I can use the word I hate, because when you learn naturopathic doctor, the one thing they teach you a lot is you're not diagnosing. But in the end, you are. Because if I'm going by one system after one system, and I write what's wrong or what's not functioning, at the end, I'm going to diagnose what I saw. And I'm going to tell a person after sitting with them like for 2 hours, okay, so your thyroid and this, and you need to start to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That made me think back then that I don't want to practice my naturopathic doctor. I want to just choose what I believe in doing good for people. And it's amazing how Dr. Fred brought the same exact thing, I believe. Yeah, fighting against walls, it's okay, it's normal. The world needs people like us because we're fighting for everybody. At the end of the day, someone that needs medication probably will get the medication. But how many people don't need the medication? And if we're going to give them only like TikTok or I don't know, whatever candy instead, automatically when they think about some headache or some anxiety or something, they will take and grab. They're not even thinking about what's happening. A lot of people, at least in my hand, I see a lot of clients that are on those medication. One of them is my mom, and the medication just changes, so it's still not in the root of the problem. And it brings me to the point, I had one client that used to see a psychologist and for many years. The first time I touched him during the session and I said, oh, you have a lot of problem with your mom, you have to let it go. The minute I say mom and let go, he started to release like no others. And then he looks at me, he's like, 10 years I'm going to the same therapist. She's still not there yet. 10 years. And she gave him everything possible, but the root he have with his mom, the connection that his mom affect him. And that's how he's so like, whatever. But it's amazing how we can get, and Dr. Fred is so right, emotionally, we can solve at least 90% of the problem. Of course, if someone really need the medication, they will need the medication, but instead of diagnose today, and you're gonna probably agree with me on that. When you go to the doctor, to any psychiatrist, and you say, oh, I'm so afraid right now, I'm Israeli, I'm so afraid of what's going on in Israel, they're not going to even check me. They will give me something to calm me down immediately, even though fear is something that is normal to happen. Worried is something that is normal to happen. So what would be your suggestion, Dr. Fred, for people that are on those medications? Because I know a couple of them that I'm pretty sure they don't have. I'm sure they don't. At least one of them, I am sure, guarantee she doesn't have anything. It's all in the head. Because I worked with her for many years when she had the biggest anxiety attack on the freeways. She always used to call me, Karine, I stopped the car, come and get me. That's how it was. And in some point, I'm like, you know what? If you're not going to get up and move yourself from that point to second point, I'm not going to help you. No one will. And how can we help people to get off that medication? Because from what I understand, doctors also warn patients, oh, don't take it off immediately. That can, they scare them also on the other hand. So what's true really from your part?
Yeah, it's a great question. And thank you for your story. It really also very additive to what we're talking about and really aligned. You're right. We're aligned in our way of thinking about healing. It just, I think, one of us comes from the top and the other one comes from the bottom, but we both come from the inside out. And that's really important to get.
Sure.
So, how do people get off medicine? The only way that it's going to work, I have taken a lot of people off of medicine, and sometimes it's unsuccessful because people are sure there's still something wrong with them. And as long as people think there's something wrong with them, every time you take them off a medicine, they're going to wonder, what are you going to replace this medicine with? What can I take if I'm not going to take this, is what they want to know. Because they've already been indoctrinated to believing that there's something wrong with them and there's some need to put something in their mouth in order to somehow address whatever is imbalanced. And so it's a tricky business. It's a much trickier business to take someone off of medicine than it is to prevent somebody from going on in the first place. Once they're on, they've already bought that there's something wrong with them. They're already in. They made the big decision that they're going to choose to put something in their mouth in an effort to alter the way that they think or act. And once they make that decision, it's very hard to unring that bell. So when you take someone off a medicine who's already pretty sure that there's something wrong with them, that's what they want to know, is which other medicines can I take now that I've taken off this medicine? So if you really want to address taking someone off a medicine, the way to do that is let them know and then have powerful discussions with them about the possibility that there might be nothing wrong with them. There really might be nothing wrong with them. That it's completely okay to be anxious. It's completely okay to be afraid. It's completely okay to be depressed and resentful. It's okay to have trouble sleeping. It's okay to feel scattered. It's okay to feel awkward in social circumstances. It's okay to think a lot about yourself. It's okay to overspend every so often. It's okay to overeat every so often. This is called humanity. And when you get that there's nothing spectacularly wrong with you, then you can start really separating the idea that since there's nothing wrong with me, I don't need to take something in order to fix myself. This is a very important distinction. And there's only a small group, actually small or medium, not everybody who's on medicine is ready to make that transformation. They're like, it didn't work. You took me off medicine and I got worse. Now, the problem with getting worse, the problem with that whole philosophy is that these medicines are designed. They're actually designed to give a spike of the symptoms they're marketed to treat upon discontinuation. So when you stop these medicines, you actually get a spike of whatever it is you thought it was treating you for. So even if you weren't depressed and you took an antidepressant, you came off of the antidepressants, you would get a spike of depression. Even if you were never depressed when you started. And you'll think that it was a return of your symptoms. The experience is such that you think you're now breaking through, and this is your old symptoms breaking through. And then you make the decision, of course, to go back on your medicines. So when you do that, the idea is that when you go back on your medicines, you learn that you're never going to come off of them again. I don't like taking medicines, but I don't like coming off medicines even more. So I don't want to ever come off medicine because I tried once and I got worse. The drugs are designed to make you worse upon discontinuation so that experience does happen. And then in the tapering that you mentioned, in the tapering of medicine, which now is a thing, I mean, only 15 years ago, that was not a thing at all. That was only a thing for a certain type of medication. And now it's a thing for all medicines. When you come off psychiatric medicine, you're supposed to do slow, 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 as if something terrible is going to happen. All that's going to happen is life is going to keep coming at you, and something's going to happen during your life while you're extending that period of time that'll have you think, I don't know, I ran over my cat and I never did that when I was on medicine. So that must be due to me being off medicine. So I now got to get back on my medicine. And you blame all things that are going on in your life on the idea that you're, tapering off of your medicine. And the same phenomena takes place. You decide that you don't like being on medicine very much, but when you came off medicine, things got so much worse that it's the better of the two evils. So tapering isn't really the way to go. I find that the only increment that really matters is the increment between some and none. Are you taking some medicine? Because if you are, you're medicated. And the only distance that matters is from some to none. In other words, decreasing the dose doesn't really get you closer to zero. You're either zero or you're not zero.
Yeah.
Like, listen, if you learned, or if they learned, or whoever's taking medicine learned that your medicine wasn't really medicine, it was really rat poison. and you decide, and someone said, oh, I'm taking rat poison every morning. Yes. Okay. You probably wouldn't agree to a 6-month taper. You would stop taking that medicine that moment. It wouldn't be like, okay, we're going to take you from 3 tablespoons of rat poison to 2.5 tablespoons for a month, to 2 tablespoons for a month, to 1.5 for a month. We wouldn't allow that. If we knew we were taking something that was poisonous, we would stop it instantly. And that's what I'm suggesting is a phenomenon that's being overlooked in the psychiatric medication world. The idea is maybe these medicines are actually not only not helping, but indeed making you worse. And if you knew that, why would you taper on the way down? You're not going to die coming off a medicine. You may be uncomfortable because it's going to cause that spike of the symptoms that it's marketed to treat. But you're not going to have a full-scale catastrophe coming off medicine.
Okay.
If you're going to be concerned, go ahead.
That was my fear because I'm not familiar with. I've never taken medication, so
yeah.
And I hear it a lot. I need to take it slowly, or if I'm going to take it in one time, because in my philosophy, like everything in life, either you take everything away or you don't. It's like there is no really middle. You can't clean yourself. And that's the problem I see a lot. It's like people are anxious to come. Oh, I need to clean the medication, clog me, because a lot of the side effect of those medication give me a lot of work because it's gas, it's constipation, it's a lot of emotion, it's a lot of everything but what they're taking it for.
So, Karina, I invite you to not even call it side effects. They're called effects.
Effects.
It comes with the meds. Side effects assume that there's something good going on, and this is the stuff that's not good. Effects are what they do. They actually, this is part of their design to cause constipation. That's not a side effect. That's actually an effect of taking these drugs. Yeah.
And now I'm going to use that term when I treat people. But what I'm trying to say is that from one hand, they want like healthy life and everything. And from the other hand, they're screwing their life with, and I'm saying even Advil, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Every time someone have a headache, they pop in pills like crazy. And I'm like, just take a deep breath, drink some water, run a little bit, walk a little bit, breathe fast, clean some toxins, and it's all going to be electrolyzed. Something will be fine instead of just popping another medication that maybe the effect will be in 4 hours. The headache will be gone. The psychology part of a lot of people is like, oh, I'm taking it. It's going to affect me in 2 minutes. They don't know it doesn't. So my question to you, since we're talking about it, what do we need to do to prevent, besides talking to people before they're even going to, because I'm sure people will go to psychiatrists or psychologists because they don't have no one to talk to. That's the way I see it, because a person needs to take things out of the system in order to live. And I'm giving myself as experience, just as example, just because I'm going through it in the past month. I'm not in Israel, but my entire family is there. I know how easy it is to be under missiles attack. I know because I've experienced it too many times, one too many in my life. And I lost so many people I know. And in this war, we lost, and I'm saying we as a country lost so many people that even when I don't know them, my heart is broken into pieces. So yeah, I'm hurting. I'm crying so many times a day. At the beginning, I went as like a big stone is on my chest. That was the feeling. And for some point, I had like very short breath. I didn't take any medication or anything. What I chose to do, first of all, is I chose not to watch any videos because I don't want to sleep with any. I minimized the news because I know too much is not doing good for me. And talking about it and talking about my feeling and saying, yes, I'm sad. Yes, I'm hurting. But you know what? I feel good right now. Maybe in 5 minutes, I'm not going to feel good. But for right now, I listen to music. I walk a little bit. And it doesn't mean that the pain is gone. I still have pain when I go to sleep and when I wake up. So yeah, that example is, no, I'm not running in to take some medication because I had short breath. It's what I'm trying to say, it's very normal to feel that way. Human, very normal to cry, laugh, be mad, curse. I curse most of the day. I mean, I find it normal. And as I mentioned, working and seeing how I help other, it's just recharge me, and that's how I do it. That's how I heal myself, is to tell the story, to take it out, and to tell others that it's okay to cry. It's okay. All good. Cry also during session. I'm saying, cry, let it go. Let the shit go. It's okay. We don't want to hold it in. And me and you will say things, and we will tell people to prevent from those medications. But how can we help even more? So first of all, you have your book. So Larry, put the book name and everything under our podcast. People can enjoy. I would love to read a copy of that one. Because I think I do it natural. It's not something I learn in school, but I guess growing up in Israel, I don't remember, and I grew up in a lot of war. I don't remember anyone used to take medication for anything. Maybe in my class, we had one kid that was HD, but he didn't take medication. He was just too much energy. And nowadays, I feel unnormal because maybe my kids are the only one that don't take medication. And they come to me and ask me, what, I don't have this? I'm like, no, hon, you're just slow. It's okay. It's normal. It's fine. Not everybody's fast, or not everybody's this. So how can we help? And I know you promote everything with the podcast and I know it's hard to fight those big machines.
There's no reason to fight the machines.
Of pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, there's no reason to fight the machines. If I would have created that business model, I'd be running that machine too. It's a great business model.
I know. Business-wise, yeah.
When you can create the symptoms that actually have your client need to take your product, it's all good. You've created a beautiful business model. That's why they have billions of dollars a day in straight marginal profit. So, the profit margin is the largest profit margin in the history of planet Earth for any industry ever.
True.
And that's
now they control also the vitamin market, because they understood that people are
they're not the evil. They're not the evil here. They're just they have a great business model.
Yeah.
So who are the evil? And I must say that before you answer that, is it, this sounds bad, is it the physicians that are knowingly prescribing this?
No. No, it's not that at all. There's no evil. I'd like to move the evil out of the whole thing. This is just humanity being humans. So the softest place to enter the cycle is right there with the patient. Everyone else is winning. The only person who's really not winning is the patient, or is the client, is the receiver.
Yeah.
And if the receiver gets that there's actually nothing wrong with them, that's the end of the cycle.
Right, exactly.
That's the only entrance and exit out of the cycle that I've ever seen that makes any sense. So it's not the doctors, it's not the insurance companies, it's not the pharmaceutical companies, it's not that. Those aren't even people. There's no such person called pharmaceutical company.
Right.
There's no such person called doctors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we did what we did. We were taught what we were taught, and we do what we do. If you come in and you say that buzzword, if you say you're scattered and you're not completing homework, you're going to get ADHD medicine.
Yeah.
If you say that you're sad and you've been sad, you've cried a few times this week, you're going to get an antidepressant. If you say you're scared about what's happening in Israel, you're going to get an anti-anxiety drug. If you say that you have racing thoughts and trouble sleeping, you're going to get a bipolar drug. If you say that you think you're not sure if you're hearing voices, which is really probably just your intuition, you're going to get an antipsychotic. But if you actually get that there's nothing wrong with you, that you are basically just a stone cold human being, and that what you're experiencing is just similar to every other human being, all 7.8 billion of us, then you can see that there's nothing wrong with you. And you don't have to dip into that cycle of actually perpetuating the symptoms it's marketed to treat. What's really important here, and another thing, is that inside of a lot what Corinne was just saying, is that frequently our symptoms are a function of our lack of having worthwhile relationships, connections with other people. Where if we don't express ourselves and let others express with us, then we will have a dis-ease. And that dis-ease will translate into something that seems psychological or mental in nature. So in the world of speaking and being heard and listening to others, this is where the human connection takes place. And speaking can come in many different categories. As my book says, the Creative 8, Healing Through Creativity and Self-Expression, points towards multiple different ways to express ourselves, even over and above our vocal tendency to use talking and listening as our only way to communicate with each other. There's art, music, dancing, singing, drama, cooking, writing, gardening, these kinds of things. And then ultimately, the number one trump card is helping anybody do anything. When we're of service, this is when our symptoms disappear. While we're at service, almost no matter what your psychological symptom profile looks like, while you're helping another person, you will notice that all goes away. It just all goes away as soon as you're helping another person. And when we can get that to our clients to see that all the self-expression techniques, and then allowing for and listening to others while they express with you, creating a human connection and utilizing extended forms of communication in the world of creativity, extended forms of self-expression, this is go a long way towards stabilizing people or having people at least feel moderately satisfied with the way their life is going. Anything more than that is actually gravy. No one said that life is a bowl of cherries. It just isn't. There's misery every single day. We're all struggling with misery and pain and fear and anxiety every single day. And if you know someone who isn't, that's because they're lying to you.
Or they don't want to, or they're living in those pink glasses that,
The rose-colored glasses. Yeah, yeah.
About that, we always have saying, well, I said in Hebrew though, but are you familiar with Bach flower remedy?
What's it?
Like rescue remedy, Bach flower remedy. It's know it as the rescue remedy. So I treat people with the actual flowers. It's 38 flowers. Rescue remedy, it's basically the combination of all 38. Each one represents something in the soul, some little hole that apparently we can, fill in. And usually it's emotional. And for those people that say, oh, it's all great. Yeah, the world is half apart. We call them agrimony. Agrimonious in the Greek method was like, it's a mask. It's a big mask. And some people imagine they want to see their life like in certain way. I'm so honored that you're, first of all, in my show. And you answer so many things. It's like I have this idea of like putting some big slogan all over the Instagram, internet, some TV. It's like, hello, people. Maybe something isn't wrong with you. Ask me how. something like that. It has to be like some question mark that, oh, what they're referring to. It's like, or you're healthy, you know it.
Yeah.
It's like short phrase. You know what? It's amazing idea. We need to put some short phrases.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, if people, people are not in a hurry to learn that there's nothing wrong with them. Psychiatry is the only subspecialty out there that if they come to my office to get evaluated and I let them know that there's nothing wrong with them, they get angry.
I know.
There is
Oh,
no
trust
other
me,
subspecialty where that's true. If you go to your
I know.
cardiologist and he says there's nothing wrong with you, you're happy about it. If you go to your eye doctor and they say there's nothing wrong with you, you're happy about it. If you go to a psychiatrist and they say there's nothing wrong with you, they get furious and they tell you they're going to go to the next doctor to find out what's really wrong with them.
Wow. Really?
And it brings me to think that it's kind of like almost a trend.
It's
that
people want to relinquish the responsibility they have for their life. And this is a
they
way
don't
to do
want
it.
to deal with it.
It wasn't me, it was my disease. It wasn't me, that was my ADHD. The reason I was mean to you is because I have bipolar disorder. The reason I didn't finish the job was because I have, attention deficit disorder.
Which brings us to responsibility, or to feel like people don't want to feel. And I want to say 60% of humanity today is blurred with some type of drugs. I see a lot of young kids that goes to all those sports. It's like cover. The minute they need to feel something, then something is wrong. Someone came to me and told me, and well, she's like, have you tried this before sex? I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, oh, you're going to feel amazing. I'm like, you need to get something to feel something else. I'm like, dude, you're missing a big part of your life. It's like, so all our life are built on lie. Look what happened around, people are cheering for that. People are getting crazy as far as I see it. And that brings me back to you, Doctor. How many doctors like yourself there is around? You feel like that they will treat whoever needs to, because I'm sure there is also true cases that needs medication.
Not
sure
that I know of. Not that I know of.
Okay, that's a good start.
The only people who need medicines are people who are already on it, who are refusing to come off.
Okay. And there is any other doctors like yourself that will promote not taking medication, promoting
they're usually not MDs. Usually not MDs, because we're typecast to make diagnosis and prescribe medicine. When I was looking for a job as a doctor, in the last several years, looking for a job as a non-medicating physician, I couldn't find a job anywhere. There was nobody who wanted to hire me if I wasn't going to medicate, period. I finally did find a job that has now hired me to do that. But that's exactly, they're a great company because they actually realize that connection's at the heart of all healing. And they're allowing me to actually coach and mentor and lead and guide people rather than medicate them and diagnose them. I still have to diagnose for insurance purposes so that third parties pay. But even that, I think, is entirely damaging, because whenever I give you a diagnosis, it's with you forever. It's like luggage. If I say you have anxiety disorder, 10 years from now, someone will know that someone diagnosed you with anxiety disorder. And it's not a small thing to carry around a diagnosis. It can affect so much of your life. So I don't like diagnosing people. Like I said, I like letting people know that there's nothing wrong with them, or that there's something not wrong with them is another way to look at it. And that this is really, really helpful in allowing people to see that they're just living this multidimensionality of what the human experience is all about.
Wow.
I think I want to take you with me to Israel, because after the war, we're going to need someone like you before they're going to start to medicate.
I have a passport, right? I have a blue passport.
I'm sure you do.
I have a blue passport. I have an Israeli passport.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
I made Aliyah on Yom HaAtzmaut in 2017.
Listen, it scares me because we're not talking about just the families that things happen to them. I'm talking about the entire state of Israel, that after this war will need to come out, and and I know that the first thing they will do is getting medication. And my God, you will have a lot of work there, because if there is one place that
there's some good places in Israel. There's some good doctors. Pesach Lichtenberg works at a place called Soteria outside of Jerusalem and outside of Herzliya. He has, I think, 3 offices now. And there are some doctors and some philosophers. If anybody is aligned with me that I've ever met in the MD world, it's Pesach Lichtenberg. My Hebrew name is Pesach as well. So, and he looks exactly like me, by the way.
You know, I will tell you that I'm in debate with my husband, because I so want to go to Israel for 10 days just to take my cupping, because that's the only thing I can do, and actually run base by base and treat soldiers, do cupping just for, you know. But I don't know. I'm a mother of 4, and I don't know if they're gonna, you know, how things are gonna go. So it's like, I'm still thinking about it, and we'll see. Maybe I will do it. Anyway, I'm so honored to have you. We
Thank
have
you.
so many things to talk about, because this is just the beginning, audience. This is just, you know, this is just the tip of the ice of what we can do for humanity. Inside out, as you know me, I always say, like, beauty comes from inside out. Actually, every single thing starts inside. It doesn't start outside. It just show outside, but it always starts inside. And there is so many tips and so many things that we can share with the audience, and really not just answer, more of life, or showing them another road to success, another road for better life, better thinking. And don't forget, people, it's okay to be you. It's very normal in this unnormal, you know, world. It's very normal. So I want to personally thank you, Dr. Fred, and we will hear so much more from you.
That sounds great.
And I was so like bummed by everything you had to say. I think we can talk about it for hours and hours, but
Yeah. Let's talk. Yeah.
and yes, I want to read the copy of your book, so I will order it. Yes, Larry, take us.
Well, Dr. Fred, I just echo Corrine. Thank you so much. This is not the last time that we will hear from both of you. I can assure you of that.
That
And
sounds
so,
great. I'm really looking forward to to having a series. That sounds wonderful.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Thank you again, Dr. Fred. Eric, take us out.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening in. Like always, all of Dr. Fred's information and links will be in the description if you're listening in on Anchor, as well as all of Kareen's links and social media information. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. And remember, support our troops and Israel's troops.